It's March 15th, and the strange side of history awaits. Today, we have a betrayal that echoed through history, a hotel reduced to rubble in seconds, and a forgotten painter suddenly becomes a legend. Let's begin. On March 15th, in the year 44 BC, the most powerful man in Rome walked towards a meeting that would become one of the most infamous betrayals in history. The Roman dictator Julius Caesar had been warned. For weeks, an Etruscan seer named Serprina reportedly told him that danger surrounded the coming days, especially the Ides of March. But on that morning, Caesar seemed unconcerned. Just as he passed the seer on his way to the Senate, he said, "The Ides of March are come." Aye, they are come, but they're not gone. Moments later, Caesar entered the Senate chamber, where dozens of senators surrounded him, many of them his friends and allies. Then the knives came out. Caesar was stabbed 23 times. The conspiracy was meant to save the Roman Republic. Instead, it unleashed years of brutal civil war that helped transform Rome into an empire. The assassins even minted a coin celebrating the murder, stamped with 2 daggers in a cap of liberty. Over centuries, the Ides of March had become something darker than the date, a symbol of betrayal, a warning of sudden collapse, and even today, some traitors, politicians, treat the 15th with suspicion, pointing to market crashes, political upheavals, and disasters that seem to cluster around the day. One of which in 1941, when a sudden blizzard struck the American plains, killing more than 100 people in one of the region's deadliest storms. Coincidence or something stranger? More than 2,000 years later, people still say, beware of the Ides of March. Do you think it's just history, or does that date actually have a strange track record? On March 15, 1986, something terrifying happened during the middle of a normal morning in Singapore. At the Hotel New World, people were going about their day, guests sleeping upstairs, a bank had just opened, mechanics working in the garage beneath the building. Then something felt wrong. Witnesses later said they heard a cracking sound inside the walls, like the building itself was groaning. And then in less than 60 seconds, the entire 6-story building collapsed straight down. Concrete floors slammed into each other like a stack of falling dominoes. Cars vanished beneath the rubble, dust filled the air of the hotel. 33 people were killed instantly, but beneath the wreckage, voices still called for help. Rescue teams began a desperate search. Using microphones, they detected faint tapping under the debris. For 3 days, crews drilled narrow tunnels through the unstable rubble, knowing that the entire pile could shift at any moment. Against all odds, 17 people were pulled out alive, and investigators discovered the building had been doomed from the start. The structural designer had forgot to calculate the building's own weight, a fatal mistake that slowly weakened the structure for years, until the morning it finally gave way. The most chilling part of the building was that it was doomed from the moment it was designed. How many structures around the world might still be hiding such a similar, dangerous mistake? On March 15, 1901, more than a decade after his death, a quiet exhibition opened inside a Paris gallery. The artist being displayed had died poor, unknown, and deeply troubled. His name was Vincent Van Gogh. At the gallery Bruneheim June, 71 of his paintings were hung for the first time in a major gallery. For just 11 years earlier, Van Gogh had died believing he was a failure. He had almost sold nothing, and many people remembered him not for his paintings, but for the stories. The artist who cut off his own ear, the restless man who wandered the countryside, painting feverishly. But behind the scenes, someone had spent years carefully protecting his legacy. Jo Van Gogh Bonger, the widow of Vincent's brother, had quietly preserved hundreds of his works, waiting for the right moment. Paris was finally seeing them. Thick swirling skies, burning yellow fields, portraits that seemed to stare directly into the viewer's soul. Visitors came through the gallery in stunned silence. Critics who had once ignored him suddenly began writing about something extraordinary. They weren't looking at the work of a failed painter, they were looking at the work of a genius who had been completely overlooked when he was alive. In one strange twist of history, the painter who died believing no one cared had just become one of the most famous artists the world would ever know. Another day, another strange bite from history. Like, comment, and subscribe. Your next eerie dose is just a day away.